Hi kids. So today's video is again not an educational one. I was asked to make this video by one of the MBBS students, although it is too early for you to consider this, but let's break it down for you. How was MD Pathology in SNMC Agra, especially for a person from a different state? Before I start listing the pros and cons, you need to have some context of this. My batch was 2020, which means that we were the COVID batch. So it was during the first wave that our counseling was held. The exam was in January. That is when we were selected through All India Counseling, and I got UP. Even though it was in the COVID era, I have tried to make the points about my residency non-specific as valid for anybody else who wants to do pathology from SNMC Agra. Alright, first pro, the stipend is actually good. So all of the other states, whether it is the south, northeast or west or Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan side, all of them have very low stipend for JAs. UP is the state which has a decent stipend as compared to the rest. I still remember during my COVID duty, few of them actually did ask me that did you take up pathology in UP because the stipend is actually good, and I was like, I didn't really Google the stipend list. I am not that person who Googles and all. I just searched up the college a little bit, but I had no idea about the stipend. So turns out UP is one of those states which has like the highest stipend in comparison to the rest of the country. It is in line with the Delhi NCR region. Nobody probably is giving this much stipend to the residents. Okay. Another advantage is that UP gives a 10% increment each year. So if first year in 2021 has started at a certain salary, the next year's first year will have a 10% increase. So that increment, which is when you become a second year, third year resident, that increment happens in every state. But it's like you will get above 1 lakh after a while. So I would say that is the one advantage which I was not even aware of. And like you can pay for yourself. Like that is the best thing about UP. Okay, I was able to pay my rent, my electricity bill, my water bill, my gas, phone, petrol, and do a lot of shopping and traveling and still save some money. So you can do all of that. It's a decent enough salary. Okay, so the second pro of doing MD from Agra is the connectivity. I am from Punjab, and it does take, depending on the train, 8 to 12 hours to reach back home from Agra. So Agra has a lot of stations, and the major is the Agra Kent railway station, and it is connected to the whole of country. And even if you want to take a flight, you can take a train directly to Delhi, Shambhali you can take, and then you can take a flight back home. Both of them for me, whether flight or the train, would take same amount of time. So occasionally, very occasionally, I have gone through flight if I was like traveling too much. Otherwise, I have mostly taken train only. So if you need to go home for holidays or some personal stuff, it is not that big of a struggle as opposed to where I did my SR shift from. Their connectivity was an issue, but the only pro there was that it was closer to Agra only, but it was a lot of hassle going back and forth from home. So with Agra, at least the connectivity is decent. Third pro I would say is the thesis guide for life, and that might not be everybody's experience or every department's experience, but that is my personal experience, so take that with a grain of salt. Which is that every every PG candidate is assigned a thesis guide, right, which is your faculty in the department. And if everything goes well, that faculty will become somebody who mentors you through the rest of your life. Every single career decision I have to take, even joining fellowship here in this city, I asked my thesis guide Deepa ma'am, and she has taught me how to read pathology, how to study pathology. We were both posted in COVID control rooms together. Twice we had COVID duty. So I have such a strong connection with her to surpass definitely a usual faculty resident relationship. But like that's something I can boast, that I have a great connection with her. Fourth pro, so academics are solid here. That is one thing I can tell you, that if your goal is to build a strong foundation in the basics of pathology, because that's the minimum that you can do with any degree. Basically your residency is the basic minimum. You have to upskill, you have to become a better doctor. I would ask you, do not become mediocre. Try to become the best in whatever branch you take. And with pathology, super specializations are in trend, whether fellowships or they want to say is whatever you do, just do it with so much like enthusiasm and give it all and bring your caliber to another level. Okay, don't be a mediocre doctor, no matter what branch you take. So apart from the a decent practical load experience which we get, we have lectures, slide seminars, case discussion, journal clubs. So all of them happen for us in every week, and I think that is great for building solid foundation, the theory as well as the practical. Now I just want to emphasize that when I was doing PG, there were only seven seats of pathology in SNMC Agra. Now the seats have increased, I think, to 19 if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know how much that has changed. I'm talking about my time. Fifth pro is departmental life and even life outside. So one beautiful thing while we were going out during the third year was that we had birthdays for faculties. We would celebrate birthdays, and then faculty would throw us a party, and faculties would take us out also. And so I think the environment in pathology department of SNMC is very chill. It's not as toxic as might be in other departments. At least like faculties are very sweet, unless you've made a mistake and you've made a blunder and all, which that happens every now and then. That's okay. So we used to go out. There are many places to go out. That was one thing about Agra. There's lot of cafes and restaurants and bars and whatnot. Whatever. It's a fun life you will have. Now I think even comedians are coming, music shows are happening, concerts are happening. So Agra is building up its potential. Okay, let's talk about the cons. If you're a girl, there will be no hostel provision for PGs, so you have to rent out your own place. And initially it can be tough to figure out, especially if you're from a different state, you don't know anybody. That's why I said I lived in 4 places. The first place, they wouldn't even let us install AC. So in the July session 2020 July, they wouldn't. I had to live without AC, so I had to buy a cooler, I had to buy a fridge, then I had to sell everything because the second place had everything. It was a fully furnished place. I lived in church compound, that was the second place. Then I moved to HIG, then I moved to another place. That was the last place where I moved to, was my favorite flat of all times. But obviously you will get HRA, that is not too much, but a little bit. Ideally you will want a flat which is closer to college, like you commute, whether your scooty or car, whatever is easier to reach. You will want something which is also closer to the city center, so that at late night you want to go and have fun with your friends, it's also easy to reach. If you want to go to a mall or cafe or go watch a movie, that should also be nearby. So that's work-life balance is there, which in turn I would say pathology is like that. It has a decent work-life balance. On second thing, which I would say anywhere in the country you would feel at this point, which is heat and traffic. So there is a ton of traffic. I had a few accidents which are out of my memory. I don't remember what happened while my head struck the road. So there is that. And heat, it is going to be hot. Now I'm realizing that that kind of happens everywhere, that kind of. Also, last con, lot of animals. You will have encounters with lot of animals. I will tell you all the animals that I will list all the animals I encountered in the department. Monkeys, lots of monkeys. So many monkeys that you have never seen so many monkeys at a hill station also. So many monkeys that your brand new scooty that you barely used for 2-3 years home will completely get wrecked, and you will feel like I don't want to drive it, like you're just barely surviving on it. Secondly, dogs. You will see a lot of dogs in the department. You can expect a lot of rats. That's just government college bullshit. Fourthly, machhar. Lot of machhar. Welcome to the department of pathology if you don't see machhar. Again, every department and probably every government college, I got dengue there. I had never met anybody in my life who had ever had dengue, but apparently there, though, it is a common occurrence. Okay, that was all about pros and cons, but I think part of the decision making is also dependent on how the residency is. So I'm going to give you a brief interlude into what is pathology residency and what is included in it. Okay, Month is technically first month is orientation, but I would say entire first year is orientation. You are just getting habituated to understanding pathology. You've come as a blank state at the end of the day. Everybody, to be honest, everybody hated pathology during MBBS, even especially during NEET PG preparation. It's such a big subject, so like, and so high yield also, but people don't know how to finish it, and it is so vast. New questions will keep coming up, right? So most of the work in first year is paperwork. Not all of it is completely electronic, which I would say in the next few years it will become electronic, but some of it is done on computers, but all of it is done by residents. Do not expect that you will get a typist. So basically it is understood that in first month only, in after the first month finishes, of the orientation month finishes, you will be expected to deal with hematology independently. You will be expected to understand what is normal hematology and what can you report and what is absolutely abnormal or leukemias or whatever, and you cannot report and you have to go to a senior or SR or an AP or a professor. Okay, urine analysis. And when we were doing PG at that time, biochemistry was not having a PG seat in SNMC. Now I think they have one seat, but they might have increased actually, and they are the ones who were dealing with biochemistry only, and we used to pass out those reports. So we had to also get well versed with pathology, clinical pathology, which is your biochemistry basically. And normal histology and cytology you are expected to know at the end of your first year. That's just like, I'm giving like a very bare minimum idea. Okay, second year is when you build on that information. Hemat gets more intense, more theoretical as well as practical. Both of them get very intense, and histo and cytology also go deeper, but it is the year where you do a lot of procedures. You're the one doing bone marrow, you're the one doing grossing, you're the one doing FNAC, you're the one going out and doing FNAC also. So that is second year is the year of procedures. This is the setup this is the standard timeline in Agra. That is how we were trained. It might be different in other colleges. Third year, everybody knows that that is the most tension-ridden year. Finish your thesis and you have to pass your exams. More than that, you also have to prove your hard work of 2 years. By the end of third year, I think everybody is well equipped to deal with pathology on their independent basis, and they can justify what they have learned from their PG branch. Anyone can become a decent pathologist. It seems difficult, and it is difficult, no denying that. But of course, if you've done your PG, you're gaining your experience, you can become a decent pathologist. But one thing that is more important than anything is detail orientation. To be very oriented to detail. That is one thing that might not be needed as much as in other branches, but pathology is the branch which needs a lot of detail orientation. Your skills have to be sharp, and even if you finished PG, you have to still keep upskilling, which again works for every branch. You have to be willing to learn more and increase your expertise. Expert is not a set of skills that you acquire at the end of your PG. It is a set of skills that you build on after your PG. Okay, so expertise comes after you finish your PG. I have actually made another video of my experience as a third year pathology resident, and that in general, like not at SNMC. I will link that down in the description below if you want to check that one also. So I hope this helped the kid who asked me about this and others. And let me know if you have other queries. I had not thought that I would make a video on this topic after I have finished PG, but I'm glad that you asked me this question. I was able to revisit my memories and pick up few pros and cons for you. Thank you.